Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast, where me and Dave try and help you with your personal, professional, and career development. So, how are you doing, Dr. Dave?
I'm doing most excellent today, Dr. Joe. Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry I distracted you. I mean,
No, I'm
we're
writing down
only
the
we're only
times.
doing a podcast, so
I'm writing down the times.
okay.
Or start and stop. One of us has got to monitor it
You're right.
because we'll be
You're
talking
right.
for an hour or two.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of this podcast, where me and Dave again try and help or assist you with your journey as we talked along the way. Me and Dave have had kind of the long extended journey, so we're trying to help you, maybe prevent you from going down that long path. But so for today, just like always, one of us introduces the topic and then the other one gets us going. So, with that, of course, I'm going to be introducing the new topic for today, and Dave is going to get us started. So, Dave, what comes to mind when you think of new places? Where
New
does your mind
places.
go?
New places, that to me is exciting. It's exhilarating. My curiosity is piqued and it's an adventure, and I've done some international travel and I've lived abroad, and it's such an awesome experience. And
Right,
even with so that's the travel vacation piece or living piece. Then there's the professional piece. I'm always curious about other companies and other industries and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And then there's the personal side. There's the relationship piece. So when we talk about new places, my mind just starts going down all these rabbit holes. It could be an audiobook, it could be the internet, it could be a physical book, it could be an ebook, it could be whatever. There's so many ways to explore new places now. You know, back
right,
when back when I was I'm just going to say younger, we didn't have this type of availability. You relied on postcards or photographs that people that you knew would share with you so you could see them. And now with the technology over the last, especially over the last 15 years, the internet's become a lot more prolific. It's just really opened up to every corner of the world and every industry and
absolutely,
every company, and it's just even people are now online,
right,
right? So there's just so much that's out there to explore. So that's what I think about when I think about new places, is just the sheer, you know, it, infinite vastness, if you will, of what's
right,
out there and what's available.
right. No, you touched on a lot of things, especially in reference to modern technology. Because when I think of new places, like you said, back in the day, you had to rely on postcards and things
Mhm.
like that. Or if you read a book, you had to rely on that author's ability to draw that picture for you when you think
Mhm.
of new places. But you're right. It's funny because just the other day, having a conversation at work about a virtual tour
Mm.
of our organization, of our
Mhm.
business, because we're trying to bring people there without having to actually pay for them to come from another location, pay for our airline, pay for a hotel, pay for all those other things, where now we can just put it online. They can just click and go to those locations,
Mhm.
because it's all virtual, because of that ability. So you're right, the all the modernization of the tools, everything that's available to us, you can go to new places without leaving the comforts of your own home.
Mhm.
Yeah, much like you, I did, international travel, thanks to Uncle Sam, allowing me to go to different places. But that's the physical part, like you said. But the other side of that is that mental piece, not just going to those places physically, but maybe taking your mind to a location.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's more powerful than actually going to the places physically.
Mhm.
Because if you can, again, picture where you're trying to go or what you're trying to do, that is going to help you get there faster, help you understand maybe there's some things you need to do.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when you think about whether it's an organization, a new industry, you start thinking about, this is a new place.
Mhm.
What does that look like? And if you open your mind to those possibilities, I think you'll start to see the big picture or a bigger picture versus, offline, we're talking about if you grow up in a certain region of the country or you never leave your state, you're
Mhm.
going to be very limited on your ability to see other things. If you've never been to another state or another city outside of your local region, you may see some things that are just going to totally shock you because that's not something you're used to. So that's going to be difficult or challenging for you if you have not stepped outside of your comfort zone or where you are today,
Mhm.
especially if you're not willing to open your mind to those possibilities. So I think that's a challenge for a lot of people.
Right, and you touched on a couple of things that really kind of piqued my interest. You said, imagining things, and imagining places is awesome. If you can
Right.
visualize and, that's part of it. That's a huge piece of it. And that took me to like video games.
Right.
There's all types of different genres out there that you can explore. I mean, and it sounds silly, video games, but there's now with some of the games that are out there, you can go interstellar to other planets.
Oh, yeah.
Hypothetical, you can go back
Right.
to the medieval times, you can go back to prehistoric times, you can go to cartoon worlds, you can go to modern days, happy places, sad places, violent places, you know, funny places. There's all different things all different places we can go to just experience things, or quasi experience them, if, like outer space and other galaxies and universes and that sort of thing. But um, being able to explore these places virtually, to your point, is just, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, they didn't have virtual tours.
Right.
Now
Right.
real estate companies are using them over the last 5 to 8 years, I would say. Maybe I'm a little off there, but now you can do virtual tours of of a home.
Absolutely. Yep.
And and one of the things that I really enjoy is, and this is maybe a slight tangent, but one of our vehicles has a camera system. So when you go into a parking place, you can click on the view and it'll show you if you're parked correctly.
Right.
I say
Right.
that because maybe I'm not the best parker without it.
No, yeah, that's you're right. The technology has enhanced those abilities for us to think about new places.
Mhm.
You just mentioned it, just even home tours. Back in the day, actually, when we were looking for our house, we had to go to many locations
Mhm.
before we it was decided on a house. But now you can just pull it up. You can see the surroundings outside. You can see a bird's eye view from using a drone. So now you can see the entire neighborhood. You can pull up, things that happen in that neighborhood. It's
Mhm.
just everything is available for you to see that new place versus, again, imagining or wondering what it's like, talking to neighbors and things
Mhm.
like that. So technology has, made that everything being, again, from the comforts of your own home, allowing you to travel around the world and like you
Right.
say, interstellar as well into other worlds based on whatever technology you use, whether you use a game or anything like that. So yeah, so we touched on the capabilities of technology. I'd like for us to go back and focus a little bit on being able to see these new places with just by opening our mind to the
Mhm.
possibilities. Again, we think, it kind of referred to it earlier about, living in a certain area for most of your life.
Mhm.
And then now trying to maybe visualize what it looks like living somewhere else or being somewhere else. Again, you really don't have much of a reference point except for what you might have seen through
Mhm.
technology. But to imagine living there or imagine you've been at your job for 15 years, you want to go to another organization, you want to go into another industry,
Mhm.
having that ability to visualize that new place, being in that new place, and you haven't gone there yet. So I think that's trying to help people understand the importance of that or the ability to do that.
Yeah.
It really starts with that mindset shift to think that you can fit in that environment, that you can fit in that new place. So that's where I'd like it, for us to maybe change our focus
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
yeah, sure. And I like the exploration piece of it, just
Right.
and the curiosity, aspect of it, because we're all different. We're all on our own journeys,
Right.
and some people like to get out of the house or out of the office or
Right.
out of the state or the country physically, but other people maybe they don't have the means or they don't want to. This is an
Right.
opportunity for them to actually explore other cultures, other languages, other people, other places, other architecture, and other environments. And that's the part that I love, is the exploration piece.
Right. Yep.
Um, Several years ago, my wife and I went to Singapore for the first time we went, and we went a week. It was for a conference, and we showed up a week early. We made it a vacation, a work vacation.
Right.
So the first week was our vacation. The second week was the conference, and the first week we didn't have any guidance. It was an exploration, and we got
Right.
to explore all the different facets of the country, and it's a wonderful country. Um, the architecture, the language, which is primarily English, the cleanliness, the different places you could go, the different things you could experience, the food, the music. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And you know, now we don't have to necessarily go there to go to those places, but the exploring piece was our favorite part, because for that first week it was like we were like going into a kid going into a candy store, like we said
Right.
before, just all the possibilities. Which piece of candy do you want? Well, I want all of them. Well, you can't have all of them. Start picking
Right.
a few and seeing which ones you like and which ones you like better. So I say that because to me exploring is always, it's fun for me. It's something new,
Right.
it's exciting. And same with companies. I like to research new companies and or existing companies to see what they're doing, because I don't have to go work for them or to explore them and to see what they're like and what they're doing. And there are companies that are doing phenomenal things across every possible industry you can imagine, from technology to medical to entertainment to manufacturing to food. I mean, there's just it's virtually limitless. And to explore and see what they're doing and what they're not doing and how they're doing it and how they're not doing it, that to me is fun.
Right.
It's being able to go someplace new without having to go there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Again, that visualization piece, or imagining what it would be like if you were there, even if, like you say, go into a new industry, new environment, imagining the skills you bring to the table and your experiences, how would that translate or transfer to that new industry, that new organization? So that visualization piece, that imagining what that would be like, I think that's again that way for you to explore, like you just mentioned, without going there. So
Yeah,
that does require again that ability to just think beyond what's in front of you,
yeah.
that all you see every day, or
Mhm.
what you're used to, or what's comfortable, but expanding that boundary a little bit and saying, okay, well, what if I tried this, what if I tried
Mhm.
that? Just that ability to, like you say, explore. And for me, this is becoming a lot easier. So right now in my full-time job, I'm in the diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion space, and so that's part of DE&I, is that exploration piece,
Mhm.
that other people that are not like you, that don't look like you, don't sound like you, may have abilities or disabilities that you may not be able to relate to, but you having that ability to relate or try and understand, is that same exploration piece, trying to understand where they're coming from, their situation. That's what, having that ability to explore
Mhm.
gives you that upper hand to try and gain a better understanding. And once you have that, then that's always in the back of your mind, versus having that closed mindset saying, well, I can't relate to them, I've never been there.
Mhm.
I get it, because again, there's a lot of things that me and Dave talk about that we've experienced, other people may not experience, or people that have experienced things that we haven't, but
Right.
still having that ability to, again, imagine ourselves there or visualize ourselves there. How would we respond? how would we, interact? How would we be able to overcome or not overcome these types of things? So
Mhm.
that's once you start that visualization, that exploration, it opens you up to a whole new world.
It really
Uh,
does. It really does. I mean, when you think about transitioning careers, if it's time for a change, like you said, you've
Absolutely.
been there
Yep.
for 15 years, or maybe you've been there for 6 months or whatever, and you realize, hey, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Maybe you could have or should have explored a little bit more about that company. What's the culture like? Go to their website and see, look at the pictures that they're putting up there of the people and the environment
Right.
versus
Yep.
what it actually is. So there is that piece within career development that we now have that opportunity to explore these other environments and these
That's a
other industries,
th-
because you might be in a job and you're like, well, I'm good at it, but I feel like I've hit just I'm stagnant, or I'm just
right.
level, and I
Right.
want more out of this, whether it's more responsibility, more work, or less work, or just different work. That's something that you've always been interested in. This is a way for you to explore it without having to leave. Like you said, going
Right.
to work for that company and realize, hey, this isn't the grass wasn't greener. It's
Right.
it's
Right.
actually a bunch of dried out tumbleweeds.
Right. No, you brought up a very good point when you mentioned, maybe taking a look at that organization where you're going to go, take a look at their website, their pictures, and maybe some of the comments that people leave about
Right,
that
the reviews.
organization. Because, we often think of when we're doing interviews, it's about what we bring to the table, what our skills, experiences, and abilities are. But the reality is, it should be a two-way interview,
Correct.
not just
Absolutely correct.
being interviewed for this position, but also that company being interviewed for if it's a good fit for you,
Right.
because you may have all the tools they're looking for and ready to hire you, but then you start to do a deeper dive, do a little more exploration on that organization and find
Mhm.
certain things that don't align with what
Right.
you want to do or what you stand for. So that's a very good point that you brought up, is the idea that you're taking a look at that organization, and like you say, we have the tools to do that now.
Mhm.
Back in the day, you didn't have all the, the internet, didn't have all these other uh, opportunities to view what that organization really looked like.
Mhm.
Now it's there. Again, it's out there. If something's happened at that organization, you can find it. You can pull it up. You can, you won't be misguided as far as going in there blind, not
Right.
knowing what's happening. You have the opportunity
It
to
it
do a
reminds me
deeper
of
dive.
back in the day when the library was the place
Right.
to
Yep.
get this
Yep.
information,
Yep.
or the I'm going to date myself, the record stores, or the video stores, that's where you
Right.
went to find these things. And a slight tangent about me, back in the day, I used to have, maybe I don't know if I'm really, this isn't something to really brag about, but I had three different sets of encyclopedias because each one approached things differently
Right. Yep.
and had different information about people and places. And that's now I don't have to carry around 300 pounds of books, which is awesome.
Right.
and it's always current on the internet mostly.
Yeah. Well, but we also have to be careful about our technology, because
Right, right,
we know, like you said, there could be information that's put out there that may not be correct.
right,
It could gather wings and continue to grow and continue to fly, and it's not necessarily true. So that's the other thing with
right.
all the technology we have. It can also be a detriment
Yeah, you
because
have to
it
sift through it.
absolutely. But you're right. You don't have to carry around 300 pounds or books or anything like that. You can pull out your phone or tablet or
Mhm.
computer and find all that stuff within seconds,
Yeah.
depending on how you put it in the search bar or whatever. So, but the challenge is, again, to make sure that could also be a detriment as well when you have this plethora of information
Mhm.
and you're trying to sift through it and trying to realize or recognize, identify what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. So
Right.
that's the
What's good for
downside.
you, what's not good for you. And to your
Right.
point, and I love that you brought that up, is the interview. And a lot of people don't understand that it is a two-way conversation, not like it
Right.
was pre 2000 where it's like you have to sell yourself, and then they buy you. It's now you
Right.
have to you should be, you know, looking to buy that company too, buy into that
Right.
company.
Yeah.
Is it really, do they really do have this big fancy brand new building with manicured, you know, exteriors and that sort of thing? Or when you get there, is it just a rumbled, you know, shambled shack or something, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
there's only two people employed versus 200, you know? So,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, understanding that it is a two-way conversation is imperative, because it, to your point, it has to fit you as well.
Right.
You know, if you've applied for that job, you know you're going to be a good fit for that position. Now you need to understand, is that company going to be a good fit for you, and what you expect and what your requirements are and expectations for a work environment.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So just along that same line of the interview and new places, even if it's not applying for a new position, but going through that exploration to again to check to see if it's even a good fit.
Right.
If you're especially if you're thinking about changing industries,
Mm-hmm.
go from one industry to another,
Yeah.
because you're definitely going to have to do some exploration if you're not as familiar with that industry as
Mm-hmm.
were with the industry you're in. So for me, perfect example, I grew up in the aircraft maintenance industry. Now I spend a lot of my time in manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
and going into it, I had no clue. It was
Right.
totally different. And so without doing all the research, it was an eye opener to me to go from that industry to the other.
Sure, sure.
Fortunate enough, I was able, again, I had open mind enough to see how the skills transferred, how there were similar things, just slightly different. So just keeping an open mind to that, I think helped me and allowed me to propel and move forward. Where other people I saw do the same thing, some of my peers that were in aircraft maintenance went into other industries and came back just
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't ready for the change or weren't accepting of that new place as I was. So I think, again, you can stifle yourself if you're not willing to put
Right.
yourself or try and put yourself in that new place where you're trying to go.
Yeah, I like what you said about keeping an open mind. We've talked about many of these
Yep.
topics. I love that you throw the plugs into the conversation about our other episodes. I try to. Sometimes I'm successful. Sometimes I'm just so in just in the moment. And that keeping that open mind is very,
Yep.
very important. Whether you're exploring a new uh, place or a new company, a new job, a new industry, keep your mind open and give it some
Yep.
time. You know, very rarely is everything a one to one. You know, there's always something
Right.
that always comes up that you're not expecting, good or bad or indifferent. You know, it's pleasant or unpleasant, but there's always going to be something that you're not expecting. And keeping your mind open to the possibilities of what's there is also part of that exploration and the new places. And you know, as we're talking about this, my mind just went to, even a new team is a new place, you
Right.
know,
Right.
or a
Yep.
new organization within the same company, or a new position that's a new place. That
Right.
team building process starts over, and it's time to explore, you know, just enjoy the moments and learn and absorb and really make sure it's a good fit for you. Companies, a lot of companies these days are having like an opportunity that after 30, 60, or 90 days, if it's not working out, you can go back to your previous position.
Right.
And because they want to make sure it's a good fit. They don't want to, you know, have this hype and all this excitement only to be followed by disappointment. So there's that opportunity to go back, like you said. And I think that's
Right.
important, to really keep your mind open, that there, you know, it's probably not going to be 100% exactly the way you imagined it, but keep your mind open to the new environment, the new places that you're in, the new people you're going to meet, the new culture of that industry. And I think that's a cool thing, especially when you switch industries and get into an industry that you are really, that you've always wanted to do, and now you have the opportunity to do it. I think that is really, really a neat way to explore, is by keeping that mindfulness, you know, that being open to it, and just being mindful of where you are in that moment, in that new place.
Right. I read something a week or two ago, and it says something to the effect of, if you if it's if it's easy, then you're not growing or something to that
Right.
effect. But if it's making you uncomfortable, then that's where you should be, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that. And again, I can't remember the
something
phrase or the
about, yeah.
quote, but that to your point, like you said, if you do start down this path of it, and it's not like you imagine. Even like when I refer to my peers as, trying to transition to something else, but then going back.
Mhm.
And I just see that as, you know, uh, you're letting yourself down because you're not really trying to overcome maybe that insecurity or that fear of that change or that challenge, and then going back to what you know. We
Right.
don't necessarily grow unless we really accept those things that make us uncomfortable, things that
Mhm.
we try and figure out how to overcome or get around, or go, go through that barrier that's in front of us. Then we really again are limiting ourselves, and not really growing, because we're
Right.
really going back to what we know, what we're familiar with, what feels good, versus exploring into that unknown, and
Yeah.
figuring out that new place is different, and then going in there and figuring out how you can align with that new place, or again overcome some of those obstacles you may have about it,
Mhm.
that fear about it. So that's what I think of when I think about my peers who tried different things and then went back because it was easy, or didn't
Right.
cause them as much discomfort, as growing or
Mhm.
developing. Like I say, when I went into this new industry and was getting instructions on my task, I was like, oh, okay, then what do I do after that? Then what do I do after that? I mean it really was. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is so different, than what I'm used to. But
Mhm.
like I said, I was able to embrace it and to learn how I could fit in, and then
Mhm.
from that point forward I was able to move and advance in that new industry, because I started to seeing how things that I'd done in the past could align with
Right.
the things that I was going to try and do in this industry. So it for me, it was, again, it was a challenge. I did go home thinking to myself, man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is
Right.
not what I'm used to. But at the same time, knowing it would make me better, and
Mhm.
it has, just because I keep that open mind to the
Right.
possibilities.
Yeah, and I think a big piece of that that you mentioned and brought up was managing your expectations.
Yep.
The grass is not always greener, and
Right.
maybe the place that you're going to, you are familiar with it, but when you get there, it's not quite what you expected, and that's
Right.
part of that new places, setting realistic expectations.
Right.
I
Yep.
want to take a trip to go to whatever place. Maybe it's not going to be Disneyland
Right. Yep.
or a theme
Yep.
park. Maybe it's gonna be like one of those little I don't know, carnivals on the side of the
Right. Right.
road. So we say vacation or new position or new company or new job or new industry, you have to manage your expectations because
Yep.
as different as these things are, there are a lot of similarities. Especially I hear this a lot from colleagues that I've talked to about international travel. It's like, yeah, I was so excited to get there. And when I got there, was really dirty, or it was not
Yep.
as clean, or the prices were so outlandish, or
Yep.
the food wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So managing your expectation, or there was more violence, or they weren't as
Right.
kind, or they were too friendly. There's that side of it too. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
whoa, whoa, personal space. So
Right.
managing your expectations is a part of the exploring new places, whatever it is. It's you might have that honeymoon high, if you will, when you first get, because you're
Yep.
excited to get there and look at it
Right.
and explore it, and you're finally able to experience it. But manage your expectations.
Yep.
Just be go in with an open mind, like you said.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like we're coming close to time. So, do you have any final thoughts or final words of wisdom about new places?
I would say have fun in the exploration process of these new places, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career environment, whether it's travel, or just curiosity. Have fun with it. Be open about what you're exploring in these new places.
Absolutely. The only thing I would add is you mentioned it early on about the excitement of a kid in a candy store. I think if me and Dave talk about this all the time, we still don't know what we want to do when we grow up. And it's because of that. This podcast for us is a new place, and
Mhm.
we're excited about where this new place will take us. Is it going to be something else? So I agree with Dave that exploration piece is very important, and the better you're able to paint a picture of what it could be, I think the better you'll be able to adapt to it and really fit into whatever that new place may be. So, with that, we want to thank you all for tuning in again. And again, me and Dave love doing this. So, please let us know if there's topics you want to hear about or discussions. Just let us know because this is a journey for all of us, not just me and Dave. So, with that, we want to thank you for everything you're doing, and we want you to continue being your not so ordinary you.